make sure to subscribe to Beef Universe.
At the local harbor, Tyler and his date Margot wait for the boat that will take them to a private island where they will dine at Hawthorne, an extremely exclusive restaurant operated by the best chef in the country. Tyler's a foodie obsessed with this chef and the details behind fine dining in general. When the boat arrives, the two of them are shocked to see how many important people will be traveling with them. There's Lillian, the food critic that discovered
I don't think this is the right.
her editor Ted, post-prime actor George with his assistant and girlfriend Felicity, and a trio of important tech business investors, Dave, Soren, and Bryce.
It's not the right
ones
movie
that
for
get
you.
Margot's attention though are businessmen
This movie
Richard
funny, you
and
know
his
it?
wife and because Margot knows Richard and doesn't want him to know she's there, so she tries to stay out of his sight. During the trip, they're already served the first fancy dish, and Tyler gushes over it while he takes a picture, but Margot isn't impressed. When they finally arrive at the island, the maitre d' Elsa calls Margot a different name, so Tyler has to explain there was a change of plans and he came with a different date.
Who's this actor? She looks familiar. She look good.
Is
that her? Is that Ayanna Taylor? Is that her?
Facilities while explaining the restaurant's employees do all the hunting and farming. That's why everyone lives here. The chef also lives on the island, but his house is off limits. Afterward, they finally enter the restaurant, where they discover the kitchen is an open area that allows them to watch the cooks work. There's also an old lady named Linda on one of the
I'll tell the truth in the next 10 minutes. Ask whatever you want to pack for the next 10 minutes.
He asks his wife to exchange
Who look like
seats
the
with
two?
him so he can have a better view.
Let me see.
Elsa informs everyone that they can watch the cooks work but pictures aren't allowed. Tyler immediately comes closer to point out all the techniques they're using and asks tons of questions, so the cooks have to ask him to stop distracting them. At that moment,
What movie was
Chef
she in?
Slowick arrives and Elsa tells him something that makes him stare at Margot. The first dish is the complimentary appetizer. Lillian takes her time with the food, smelling and tasting everything carefully, but Felicity is busy trying to break up with George. Margot likes the dish but isn't super into it.
She like
so
a
Tyler
fucking
has to
bug.
elegantly explain why
But I'm
this is
really
so
attracted to
important.
that.
Moments later, it's time for the first course. Slowick comes forward and claps his hand.
I keep forgetting to look at the nigga.
At the same time, like
I don't look at niggas, so I
Then he
don't.
offers a speech
I
about
ain't
his
analyze the
work and
nigga, but I
reminds
analyze the
everyone that
girl,
they
of
shouldn't
course.
just
Let me
eat,
turn this up,
they
yo.
should savor and relish. Tyler tries to make a comment on that and only gets scolded by Slowick for interrupting.
Oh God,
Tyler
a bit
still
like a
takes
bug. Oh, they do
pictures
look
even
alike.
if
What
it's
the fuck?
forbidden. For the second course, Slowick claps again and explains that bread's the food of the common man, but since his guests aren't common, thus they aren't.
Oh, you
getting
seen
any
this,
bread.
Steffi?
The next dish is a breadless bread plate. Only small drops of the savory accompaniments are on
Breadless
the
bread?
plate.
What?
Tyler
Niggas start eating
absolutely
anything
loves
when they
it,
get
but
money.
Margot finds it
That's gonna be
insulting.
me.
Lillian thinks the emulsion does look slightly split, and as an ironic response, they send a whole bowl of it to her table. The Tech brothers think the joke is running too far and ask for bread, but they're denied even when they point out they work for Doug Varick, the actual owner of the island. To shut them up, Elsa creepily tells them that they will eat less than they desire and more than they deserve. Margot refuses to eat her dish and Tyler tries to take it for himself only to accidentally break a glass in the process.
Damn.
Slowick immediately comes to the table and Tyler tries to apologize, but the chef is more interested in knowing why Margot isn't eating. Margot points out there is no food, and Slowick replies that he carefully designed the size of the portion so if she doesn't eat, she won't fill up. Margot still refuses to touch the dish, causing Slowick to leave rather offended and surprise everyone by gently checking on Linda. Margot can't help turning to look at Richard and notices this, causing her to point out that Margot looks like their dead daughter. Richard pretends he doesn't know Margot and asks his wife to change the subject. With another clap, Slowick announces the third course called Memory, which prompts him to share a memory about his family's old
I
taco
turned my
night.
space heroes cold
He
as fuck.
reveals Linda's his mother, and that she's been drunk since he was a kid. His father was a
Hulu
drunk
or
first,
Max?
and one night, Linda called him out for it, so the
Who,
man
you
tried
was
to kill him
Anna
with a
Joy
phone
Max?
cord.
What the fuck
To
this
save
name?
his mother, little Slowick grabbed a pair of scissors and stabbed his father in the thigh,
fuck
but
is
now he
going on?
regrets not having killed him. To remember that special taco night, the dish is a smoked chicken thigh served with a pair of scissors in it on top of a phone cord. The tortillas
see?
were made fresh, but
That's
to
why
add a
me,
touch
I
of
get
it-
money. I'm finna stick with fucking KFC and Popeyes and Chick-fil-A and shit. Cause you start getting money, they start sending you to restaurants. You start eating panda and human thighs with scissors in them and shit. I'm cool, bro.
Innovation. They've been engraved
Like,
with a laser machine.
Food can't be that good where I want to start eating leopard and
Things get
shit.
even more awkward when they discover the memories on the tortillas. Lillian finds pictures of restaurants
See?
that closed because of her bad
See?
reviews, and Anne is shocked to see photographs of her husband's private
See?
life. One in particular shows Richard going out with a strange woman, but Richard swears it's just a prank. George finds pictures of his
Not
role
a prank,
as
buddy.
Dr. Sunshine, a movie that did awful when it came out, and the Tech brothers are disturbed.
Yeah, I seen
to
that
find the
Nate Shot
company's
shit. He didn't
tax
say that,
records
though.
prove they've created invoices with fake charges. Elsa refuses to explain how they acquired
Excuse
the
me.
information, and when the men threaten with closing up this place, Elsa cryptically says it won't be necessary.
It's just funny as
Tyler
fuck, right?
sees
Yeah.
himself taking pictures of the food and
You
thinks
see the
so
clip? He was like, "That
Margot
looks bad."
finds the images insulting and wants to send
You
the
know this
dish
movie?
back,
Why does everyone know
but
this movie
Tyler
but me?
snaps at her and calls her a child for not behaving correctly. Hurt, Margot decides to go to the bathroom, and Elsa rushes to stop her from entering a forbidden silver door. When she makes it to the bathroom, Margot gets close to the window to have a smoke and notices an employee running with a pair of angel wings.
Jesus!
At that moment, Slowick comes to ask Margot why she refused to eat again since he's feeling wounded by her attitude. But Margot just says she isn't that hungry.
cigarettes.
Slowick also wants to know who she
She
really
lost
is,
10,000
and
aura
when she
points.
says she's just Margot from Nebraska.
They were advertising.
Slowick
I live on
doesn't
the
believe
rock, so I don't know.
a moment later, the cooks start the preparations
I
for
live
the
on the
fourth
rock.
course by putting a piece of fabric and some decorations on the floor.
He paused for like a whole
Slowick
10 seconds and was
introduces
like,
everyone to
that's why I
Jeremy,
get talking shit.
one of his sous chefs who created the next dish called the mess. Jeremy studied in an important culinary
mess.
school and his dream has always been to work for Slowick. And while Slowick admits he's talented, he doesn't think Jeremy is great. Jeremy may want a life full of prestige.
Getting a
like
retwist on
Slowick,
Wednesday,
but Slowick
Steffi.
thinks his life is full of pressure, not to mention all the unhappy customers and critics that won't appreciate his work.
This part
Slowick
crazy.
asks Jeremy if he wants that life, and when Jeremy says no, Slowick kisses him on both cheeks and steps back before Jeremy takes out a gun. Then Slowick announces the fourth course and Jeremy ends things in front of anyone.
What?
The other cooks aren't surprised by this and watch solemnly, but all the guests freak out and step back except for Tyler, who finds this fascinating. As the body is taken away, Slowick asks everyone
They
to
finna
sit
barbecue
down and
that
accept this
nigga?
as part of the show.
I called the dick.
Everyone
I'm
begins
trolling.
discussing
It's a
if
prank,
the death
guys.
had
It's
been
a
real or
prank.
not, and Richard has had enough. He tries to leave with Anne, but Elsa stops him, explaining there's no available boat. Richard still insists, causing Elsa to order the chefs to grab him and get his ring finger. Guests start
Whoa.
freaking out again except for Tyler, who is still enjoying his meal without a care. While Richard
Yo,
wiggles on
he's
the floor in
fucked
pain,
up.
Elsa returns the fallen wedding ring to Anne. Slowick
Why is
once
he
again
not
explains
freaking
this is
out?
part of the menu, and Lillian accepts it, but the others are starting to get afraid. Felicity wants George to have a talk with
You
Slowick
want a
since
nice
supposedly they're
cockney
friends,
sandwich.
but
No,
George
Dad
confesses
wants
he
that.
loves
Hey,
to impress
yo.
her. Elsa brings
Cockney
Margot to
sandwich
the
is
kitchen,
crazy.
where Slowick tells her she's simply wrong. He can tell she isn't a Margot and that's a problem because
She look like the
wasn't
bitch
part
off
of that original
Fishtails.
menu plan. Slowick wants
Why
to know
you?
if Margot
Good,
is
bro.
on the side of the
Just
guests or the restaurants. Not
like
that it
nigga dick,
matters
boy.
because everyone's dying tonight anyway. Margot rushes back to her table in tears and slaps Tyler when he won't stop talking about the food. The whole mood in the restaurant is tense.
Oh,
and
because
nervous.
nobody else ate the food? I don't know. I'm
Goes
just saying
crazy
anything.
and decides to try to break a window with the chair, but it's made of unbreakable glass, so Elsa just takes him back to his table. The next course is tea served as a palate cleanser, and Slowick takes the chance
For
to
the
ask
amount
if
of show here,
anyone
no,
has any
literally.
questions. Tyler
She
makes
might
a
not be
stupid
from this
question about
planet.
the tea, but George comes through and wonders what's going on. Slowick explains their ingredients in a degustation concept, but this shouldn't be a surprise. For example, Lillian is a monster that causes restaurants to close because of her personal taste, and Ted coddles her. The cooks bring more broken emulsion for Lillian, and Elsa brings Margot a kitchen timer saying she has 10 minutes. Then Anne asks for a doctor for Richard, so Slowick points out they've been the most loyal customers for 5 years yet they can't name a single dish they've eaten here.
Damn.
Slowick worked to become a very exclusive chef, but it wasn't until recently that he finally understood he's been working to satisfy people that can't be satisfied, like his own mother.
Damn.
Since Slowick keeps referring to the place as his restaurant, Bryce reminds him that the actual owner is Doug Varick. Slowick replies he actually owns
I
Doug
am
himself,
Doug. Oh,
and
I
at
thought he
that
was going to say I
moment
am
it's
Doug
revealed
there.
that Doug is hanging outside while wearing the angel wings.
What?
Dave tries to offer money to save him, and when Slowick turns him down, he tries to run away, only to be stopped by the staff.
Oh, the black guy always
Bryce
dies
points out
first.
Doug kept Slowick open through the pandemic, but Slowick complains that Doug kept questioning his menu. Elsa makes a sign with her arms and Doug is lowered into the sea until he drowns, prompting Slowick to announce he's
What?
finally free before going to his office.
W Mama
Suddenly,
Drea.
the
I don't know why I keep
timer
calling Mama
starts
Drea.
to rise, and
Because
she's
the
asked to
MA.
go see Slowick.
W Madame
Margot
Drea
admits
level
she
up.
isn't supposed to be here, and in return Slowick admits he can tell Margot's a fellow industry worker. He wants to know why Margot
Mars
kept staring
attack
at Richard,
alien. No, like
making him
literally though.
confess
She's
that
freaky.
actually a street worker. Richard had been one of the few clients that managed to rattle her because he wanted her to pretend to be his daughter while they were getting frisky.
What?
Both Slowick and Margot agree that they used to enjoy serving others, and bad clients have made them hate their jobs. Afterward, Slowick takes everyone outside.
Big Mama Drea.
Presented by sous chef
All
Catherine,
right, Big
who
Mama Drea.
explains Slowick has flirted with her many times, and she's always said no. Slowick didn't fire her but stopped looking her in the eye, and this inspired the next dish, called Man's Folly. Then Catherine stabs Slowick on his leg and hugs him before staining his chef uniform with blood, prompting him to apologize. Now all the male guests are given
Call
a
me
chance to
Big
escape.
Daddy Pack.
They'll have a head start
Why'd I
of
do that?
45 seconds,
Freak.
and then the staff will try to catch them. All the men begin running except for Tyler, so Slowick has to send him out there while Catherine takes
Big
the
Daddy
women
Pack
inside.
is just gay.
The women try
Big
the
Mama
sixth
Drea
course
is just
while
some
sharing a
regular
table
shit.
with
I ain't
Catherine,
no,
who explains everyone dies
ain't
was
no
her
freaky
idea.
shit or nothing.
Lillian's compliments make her cry, and all the other ladies begin offering compliments as well to keep her happy.
Armed
And
and
asks
Dangerous,
Margot if
Juice
she knows her
WRLD,
husband,
or
and Margot admits she does,
Winter
but
Soldier.
it doesn't comment on it.
I gotta call you every time.
Margot
Every
ends up
time I
dating a
remember, I
real
got
name,
you.
Aaron, and she's from Massachusetts.
I'm fucking my messed
Outside,
up pack.
Tyler spies on them through the window because he hates that he's missing a course. Meanwhile, the
Damn.
staff goes after the men.
I ain't
and
gonna lie, this
finds them
movie
with
lost
no
me, bro.
issues, no matter if they went to the forest or the beach. Ted hid in the smokehouse, and for his efforts he's given a Passar egg. All the men are brought back to the restaurant and George sarcastically apologizes to Felicity for being a failure. which makes her admit she's
Did
been
y'all like it
stealing
when
money
y'all
from
watch it? This shit sucks.
George already knew, and Felicity knew he knew. Suddenly, Slowick announces the menu can't
better when you
continue
watch it.
as
I was
planned
just thinking
until they
that.
solve an unresolved matter. He approaches Tyler and
What's
makes
wrong
him
with this
confess
nigga?
that he had always known tonight's menu would include everyone dies. Tyler had a
What?
date, but his girlfriend broke up with him, so he hired Margot because the restaurant didn't take reservations for just one, never caring about the fact she'd die.
Why do you send me
Margot's
links when I'm
upset
watching
this
something? Like,
revelation
what do you
attacks
guys? Why do
Tyler, but the
y'all
staff
do
quickly
that?
pulls them apart.
What do y'all want me
Next,
to do?
Slowick points out
Pause
how
what I'm
much
doing
Tyler
to click the
knows
link.
about food and gifts him a chef's uniform before pushing into the kitchen.
I don't even like when people send me links anyway. Just tell me what it is and then show me.
Tyler's cooking is messy, especially since Slowick keeps making fun of him for being Mr. Nuldigable Foodie, meaning the final dish is an absolute disaster.
Yo,
Slowick tells Tyler he's why the mystery has been
that's
drained from his heart and
disgusting.
whispers something in his ear that causes Tyler to take off the chef jacket and run in tears. Afterward, Slowick takes Margot aside to ask for a favor.
Look,
To start preparing dessert, they require a large barrel that is supposed to be in a corner but Elsa forgot to bring. Slowick wants Margot to go get it and ignores Elsa when she says the staff can do it. On her way out, Margot discovers Tyler has ended things for himself, but
you
she doesn't
Google the
care.
meaning of the ending.
Then Slowick returns to the
I would have
dining
fell asleep
area,
watching this
where
shit.
George points out that this isn't really fair. Slowick
I'm waiting
explains
for you to
George is
finish, but
being
I'm saying
punished
just in
because he saw
case.
Dr.
Type shit.
Sunshine some years ago and ruined the first day off he had in months. On the other hand, Felicity'll die because she graduated from Brown University without any student debt. Meanwhile, Margot
Yeah,
makes it to
it
the
got
smokehouse, but instead of grabbing
crazy
the
and
barrel, she
lost
grabs
me
a
and
knife.
random.
Afterward, she sneaks into Slowick's house, which is an exact copy of the restaurant, but with a bed in it. Margot tries to leave
This
through the
nigga's
silver door,
obsessed.
but she's interrupted by Elsa, who has her own knife and reminds her this area is out of limits. Suddenly, Elsa attacks Margot,
Oh.
explaining she doesn't want to be replaced. Margot defends herself with objects from the
Yee.
kitchen as she points out she doesn't want to work here, but Elsa says she didn't forget the barrel. Slowick just never asked for it. Both women end up
What?
struggling on the floor, and by trying to keep the knife away from her body, Margot ends up accidentally killing Elsa.
Damn.
After her initial panic is over, Margot takes Elsa's keys and opens the silver door.
13 going on
Where
30.
she
That
finds a
shit.
simple room with Slowick's
shit is
memories from when
genuinely
he was younger
goated.
and happier with a family and a job making hamburgers. There's also a
Damn.
radio in the room, and Margot tries to use it to call for help. Back in the restaurant, Bryce is presented with a cake because his friends had told the restaurant
So,
that it was his birthday.
What? This nigga's
Margot
a
suddenly
psychopath?
interrupts by entering with the barrel through the main door, and Slowick tells her he used to be a monster, but everything he does today is pure. His chef hands are so strong that he can touch fire without feeling pain, because he can no longer be hurt. At that moment, a boat approaches the island, and Slowick realizes Margot used the radio. The staff immediately cleans all traces of blood from everyone, and Slowick makes a threat: if the guests ask for help, then an innocent man will die. Coast Guard Dale enters the restaurant and asks what the problem is,
That nigga
but
like
nobody
Nate
dares
shot.
to speak.
Oh,
Then
17
Dale
is
notices
great.
George and asks for an autograph because he's a big fan of Dr. Sunshine.
30
So
and wants to
George
date her
pretends to
best
give
friend
him
from the
one.
past.
When Dale is about to
Low-key
leave,
heart
he
candy.
discovers the
Folks
piece
say
of
heart
paper
candy.
actually says "help us" and takes out a gun, ready to defend the guests that now are brave enough to speak. Dale keeps the gun on Slowick for
They
a
from
few
quick
seconds
scope
only
him.
to suddenly turn around and point it at the candle on Margot's table, revealing it's just a lighter shaped like a gun. Dale isn't a Coast
What?
Guard. He's another member of
What?
Slowick's staff. And now he can
What?
return to the kitchen. Slowick's very
What?
disappointed in Margot for having betrayed him and declares her to
Yo.
be as bad as the other guests. Margot remembers what she saw in the house and decides to take a risk. She suddenly claps to get Slowick's attention, announcing that she doesn't like his food and that she would like to send it back. Slowick falls for Margot's manipulative tactics as she points out all the dishes were an intellectual exercise rather than something to enjoy. She's still hungry, so she wants to eat a proper cheeseburger, not some fancy deconstructed
Slowick?
poop. For the first time in the day, Slowick smiles and accepts to prepare a
Oh.
traditional cheeseburger with fries for $9.95. All the cooks watch with fascination how happy Slowick looks preparing a traditional
I don't
cheeseburger,
get it.
which he presents to Margot with pride.
That shit like trash.
Margot gives it a bite and approves of the taste, but she also thinks it's too much for her to finish and asks for the rest to go. Slowick's still in a trance, so she does as he says, and once Margot has her bag, she leaves a $10 bill and leaves the restaurant. On her way out, Margot hesitates because the others are still in danger, but Ann tells her to go with a gesture.
Nice.
While
They know what to
Margot
do.
makes it to the harbor and escapes on the boat Dale left behind, Slowick reminds everyone it's time to pay.
What?
The cost is $1,250 per head under a no-tip system, and everyone gets a bag of goodies that includes one of Doug's fingers. Everyone hands their credit cards, and a moment later, Slowick announces it's time for dessert. The cooks begin decorating the floor as if it was a plate, then they put chocolate hats and marshmallow
What?
vests on the guests. Slowick reminds everyone they represent the ruin of his life and now they shall be part of it, so the dessert will be the most offensive assault on the human palate, the s'more. This is usually prepared over
Whoa!
a fire. Thus Slowick grabs a lump of coal from the oven with his bare hands and announces a cleansing as he throws it on the decorations the cooks left, causing a fire
Nah.
that takes over the restaurant and all the people in it. Meanwhile, Margot
Nah.
stops the boat to
This
finish
bitch
her
is eating the
cheeseburger while watching
burger.
restaurant burn, using the copy of the menu that came with the gift bag to wipe her mouth.
Yo, what?
Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this.
Yo,
Thanks for watching.
That's fucked up. She was supposed to be played by Emma Stone, really? I didn't know that.